From the studios of KENW on the campus of Eastern New Mexico University, it's You Should Know, featuring the people and events of Eastern New Mexico and West Texas.
With me now is Dr. Robin A. Wels. She's an associate professor here at Eastern New Mexico University, and we're going to talk about the Dolly Parton Imagination Library. What is the Dolly Parton Imagination Library, Robin?
Well, Dolly Parton's Imagination Library is a free program for children who are birthed to 5 years of age, who live in the program that I'm speaking about, who live in Roosevelt and Tobacco counties. And all they have to do is go online and register, or register with one of these little slips, and they will receive a free book every month until they turn 5 years of age. And Dolly Parton, in 1988, Dolly Parton started the Dolly Wood Foundation. And in the year 1995, because she came from Pigeon Forge, Tennessee, and was a very poor little girl, lots of people know her story, she decided that literacy was extremely important, and she wanted to inspire, educate, and support children in getting an education and being literate. Her daddy was not literate, and she feels that that was one reason why he might not have been able to fulfill all of his dreams. And so in 1995, she started Dolly Parton's Imagination Library. And it was specifically at that time in Sevier County, Tennessee, in her home county. And that first year, she distributed 1,700 books to children who were birthed to 5 years of age.
That's great. What we have it in Roosevelt and Tobacco County.
Yes.
What other counties
Well,
here in
the
New
ones
Mexico?
that are around us, probably it's in Otero, but for sure it's in Curry and Quay counties to the north of us. And each group and partnership has different funding sources. Ours started, our program, it took us 20 years to learn about this because in 2000, Dolly made this available nationwide. And so just in, I think it was probably at homecoming of 2019, that our former First Lady at ENMU, Edwina Gower, had a conversation with Dr. Gaysu Pinnell, who is an ENMU alumna.
Yes, she
And
is.
she gave a large amount of seed money to start this program. And then we needed to find a funding source or an organization that had a budget that was large enough for these monies to go through. And so Ms. Gower found United Way of Eastern New Mexico that was willing to be our flow-through channel. So we started in January of 2020.
And how many books have you been able to take care of in that amount of time?
We have approximately, in these two counties, we have, or at least in Roosevelt, we have about 1,400 children who are in the ages of birth to 5 years of age. And so right now, we have only 468 of those registered. 11 of those are from Tobacco County. The reason we also are working with Tobacco County is because Ms. Gower thought that Tobacco was too small of a little county to get maybe some interest in starting the program there. So she decided that we would group these two counties together, and it's working really well. But every month, then there are that 468 books every month since we started. Our goal was to have 700 children enrolled by this July. But with COVID and what happened, we've kind of extended that until December. We hope by December we can have at least half of the children that are eligible to be able to be registered.
And what do you have to do to be eligible to register?
Well, you don't have to be anything but between the ages of birth and 5 years of age and live in Roosevelt or Tabasco counties. There's no restrictions about, if your family only makes a certain amount of money. No, that has nothing to do with it. Any child that is ages birth to 5 can receive one book each month until they turn 5, and they're free. So this is just a wonderful program. It's interesting to me. Last week we had made 500 bags of information that we were disseminating at the La Casa summer lunch program here in Portales. And we also distributed those at Heritage Days. And I would often walk up and say, is your child enrolled or registered for Dolly Parton's Imagination Library, where they get free books every month, mailed directly to them? And they would say no. And I said, please go to this website, because if you go to the website, imaginationlibrary.com, you can register right on there. It takes just a very few minutes. It will want to know what your zip code is. You don't even have to find out if you're eligible, because you already are, because this is now a nationwide program. And so it's also in 4 countries.
Yes.
So Dolly has distributed over 150 million books in the year 2020.
Now, on the what do you have to do to register? You have to have one of those to fill out.
No, you don't necessarily. You can do it either two ways.
Okay.
These, you might see this, for instance, at the public library, Portales Public Library, or the Fort Sumner Public Library has one of these Dolly Parton little stands, and it has information about the program, and then on the other side, it allows you to register, and then you have to mail this in to United Way, and they will then register you online. Or now it's as simple, and we have English and Spanish.
Very good.
Okay.
Very good.
And you can do it this way, or you can go directly online to imaginationlibrary.com and register yourself. You don't have to go through United Way.
And the public library here has computers available to people.
That's right.
If they
You
want
could go,
to do it online,
and someone could help you if you just go in and say, I want to register my child for Dolly Parton's Imagination Library to get the free books. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Now, there may be some people out there that say, wait a minute, from birth? What do you give a 4-week-old child to read? But it helps.
Well, we even know that babies in that last trimester are hearing voices and are born recognizing the most frequently heard voices. So their moms and dads and anyone who is a specific caretaker in their life, they recognize that voice. And the first year of life is the most important in making brain connections. And so talking to your baby, reading to your baby, doing all of those things is extremely important to make those connections in the dendrites in your brain for future learning. And it's never too early to start. You can, as you and I were talking previously, it's a wonderful time to snuggle and hold your baby or your toddler or a little person and read a book to them and talk about the pictures. In fact, you don't always have to read the words. And lots of books for little people at birth are something called a board book. Like there's a book in the front there that says Hop on Pop, and it's a board book that has bigger, thicker pages. So it's easier for tiny little fingers to turn the pages.
And children will pretend they're reading even if they
Absolutely.
don't know, and the pretending leads to really being able to read.
Right. But it's part of it is
Yeah.
also sitting and listening, because that's
Yes.
part of learning about reading and sounds that are made. And so all of these books are chosen specifically to be age appropriate for the first year, the second year, et cetera. So in fact, we had a grandmother drive through the lunch program to get lunches, and she said, and tomorrow I'm having a new grandson. And I said, register that baby immediately.
Yes.
Because they will get, the first book that they get is The Little Engine That Could, and you may remember that.
Oh, my mother read that to me.
That's right.
Yeah.
Me too. And that is the first book. If you register and you register a baby in the first year, that's the first book that they will get. The last book that they get when they're 5 is Watch Out Kindergarten, Here I Come. So they have a committee that every May selects specific books for each age group, dependent on the development of literacy skills. And reading is one way to prepare your child for early literacy and reading and listening and being able to kind of quiet themselves a little bit, perhaps.
Yeah, I think we ought to let people know that there are experts on teaching reading out there, but however, the most important person to read to a
Absolutely.
child is, the two most important people are mom and dad.
That's right. Absolutely. That is such a wonderful thing to instill that in the home and to take the time to be with your little person. That, you've already created a bond with your child, but that connection is the most wonderful thing that you could do, that you could really do. I would also say that books, every year group, like 0 to 1, 1 to 2, etc. They each have 2 books per those 12 months that are bilingual. So it's got Spanish and English in it. And that committee that meets every May to choose books kind of rotates new books in so that they're just not the same books every year. And so at least 2 new books are inserted every year. So for instance, The Snowy Day used to be on the reading list, but now I noticed it was taken off. And that makes me a little sad, because that's one of my favorite, about Peter who experiences walking in the snow and doing all the fun things in the snow. But there are also other books that are extremely good for diversity, like the My World, Our World book it talks about one little person using forks to eat their food and another little person using chopsticks, but they both use a straw to drink. So it talks about differences but similarities.
Yeah.
So it has a lot of wonderful variety.
Very good. Yes, I have often thought how sad it is that we in New Mexico just didn't start teaching Spanish and English to our children right as school begins.
Yes.
But you sure can help them a lot
Right.
when they're
Right.
smaller too.
Well, and we also know that usually children who are bilingual, that speak at least 2 languages, are probably smarter than children that just are capable of speaking 1. So, I came to New Mexico in 2004 from the Kansas City area, and I'm just sad that I didn't push myself. I tried little attempts at learning Spanish, and I know some words, but and I can probably read it, but I can't speak it as quickly as others, and I'm sorry about that.
Well, it's difficult to learn
As
a
older.
language. It really is.
When you're older.
Yeah, if that's why it would be nice if they would do it in school.
Absolutely,
Put a
absolutely.
little more concentration on it, and help the kids. You you mentioned a little cardboard book.
Uh-huh.
I can testify, having had grandchildren,
Yes.
that those are very popular.
Yes.
The children like those. They seem to
Be able to
figure out
grasp
in their
them.
head,
Uh-huh.
little ones, that that's their book.
Yes.
You know,
Yes.
and if they drop it in a puddle of water or something
It's
like
a little
that,
bit sturdier,
it
isn't it?
comes back.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Those are board books, and those are very good for birth and toddler age.
Okay.
Yeah.
And let's talk some more about the importance of reading with young children. Uh, we need to be careful not to correct them all the time,
Mm-hmm.
don't we? I
Mm-hmm.
mean, if they make up a word, we need to think of a way to tell them that that's not the right word, but this is, without saying, no, cut that out.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
that kind of thing.
Right. Well, when children are listening to your reading, they're listening to the sounds that you make. There are some times where you can actually point to the words when you're reading them, or take their little fingers and point to the words. That's not necessarily what you should be doing with a baby or a toddler, but certainly with older children, you might be able to do that. But there are other ways to read a book. Like you can just talk about the pictures. You can ask about the vocabulary in the pictures. Ask them what they think might happen. Those kinds of things that make them kind of think ahead of what is going on. And you don't necessarily, if you find a little person that's not willing to sit for a longer period of time, you don't have to go through the whole book. You can just look at the pictures. You can make things, up. But part of it is associating that what you say is a written word, or can be a written word.
Yeah, and I think that's a great idea, because I remember before I started school, I would read the Sunday funnies,
Yeah, yeah.
the colored funnies in the Sunday paper, and I really wasn't reading.
Right,
I was just making up the story
right,
by the pictures, and that's good for children too.
right. And you had said that your grandchildren liked board books, and they liked one of them read over and over and over again. And parents shouldn't be upset that children like to hear that repetition, because that's also good for early literacy.
Well, I have one, it's been probably 60 years, or no, not really, but it's been over 45 years since I read this book, and I can tell you what it said. It said, rum tum tippity rum tum tum. That's what little Tommy plays on his drum. That was the whole book, and
in repetition,
lots of pictures.
Yes,
and the kids loved to hear it.
yes.
They wanted it over and over again, and both of them did really well.
Well, and you said they're wonderful readers.
They're
now,
good readers,
because
yes.
they liked hearing Granddad read. Well, and a lot of books have rhymes in them, which is very good to hear rhyming in books. Not all books are written that way, but some are. But they all have different kinds of vocabulary. So, children can open a book and they can be all by themselves and just talking, or reading in their own ability. And that's great.
And that is in the title of the organization, Imagination.
Yes.
And imagination is a wonderful thing, and if you can help develop that in a child,
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
it's really good. Any chance we can ever get Dolly Parton to come out here and
wouldn't
talk
it be
about it?
wonderful? But, on that website, on imaginationlibrary.com, there are little clips of her speaking.
I did go to the
Did you?
website and
Did you
watched
see
her,
it?
and
It's great to hear her voice and her enthusiasm, and how much she really feels that literacy is so important for young children. And this is the time to start it, before school.
And she's absolutely right. And it's good to see somebody who does well in this world who wants to turn around and
give
it
back.
back to others.
You bet.
When my wife and I were first married, and that was 53 years ago, by the way,
Congratulations.
when we were first married, we would watch Dolly Parton on television,
Mm-hmm.
and she would give away towels out of boxes of breeze. And there was something about her, and you could just tell that she
Yes.
was going to be really popular.
Well, she's a very generous person. She's a
Yeah.
great philanthropist.
And and of course that was great. And she just did better and better. And anything she tried when she was in 9 to 5.
Oh, yes. That was a great movie.
She was in 9 to 5 with some really good actresses,
Yes.
and she was the best.
Yeah, she was darling. Yeah.
Yeah, she made all of us feel good. Well, let's hope that parents out there, let's hope that grandparents that
Yes.
might be listening,
Yes, absolutely.
aunts and uncles that might be listening, will say to the moms out there, go get one of those certificates. Go by the city library, go by, and at the fair maybe or somewhere else where they see one of these signs, and get their children signed up.
That's right.
Because it's going to give them, it's like giving them we used to have a program, a federal program called Head Start.
Oh, yes. Oh,
Now,
yes.
you talk about Head Start.
Well, we
If
still
you-
have Head Start.
If
yeah.
you can have a child
Yeah.
reading before they start kindergarten,
Right.
it's a wonderful Head
Absolutely.
Start.
Or at least be open and willing to listen and developmentally they may not be ready to read specifically, but being willing to sit and listen and learn that when they are ready is wonderful.
Okay. And how many people are involved with your organization in this
Well,
area?
it's interesting. There is a group that we kind of meet we've been meeting by Zoom. We were in person, but by Zoom on the last Thursday. And it's made up of early childhood school personnel, some local community organizations, because these are all partners that we partner with, and the staff at United Way of Eastern New Mexico. They've been wonderful. And one of their staff does a lot of the media part. One of their staff actually goes to what's called child find opportunities in the surrounding communities in Dora and Elida and Floyd, and distributes information and asks for parents to please sign their children. And of course, with school starting up this fall, we'll want to make that push again to get probably going to early care programs and seeing if they won't get their parents to encourage their parents to register their child for this program.
Well, you have invested a lot of time in education in your lifetime.
Yes, I have.
And how would you rate this program as some of the things that you have seen over the years going on?
Oh, it's a wonderful thing. It's probably one of the best, especially since they're free books. To have books in your home is really important. And to see you opening a book, to know that this is the top, this is the bottom, this is how we turn the pages left to right, etc. It's extremely important for early literacy, and that's what we're pushing for.
Okay, and can you tell us we'll put it on the screen for people, but what is the website again?
It's Imagination Library, all one word, lowercase, .com.
That's all there is to it.
That's all there is.
You just
to it.
Okay, wonderful. And so people can,
They
as
can
we
go
said,
and register, because only children who are registered for the program are able to get the books because they have their address. But there's no qualifiers for it. Any child between birth and 5.
Well, Robin, thank you very much for coming.
My pleasure.
We certainly appreciate all of you folks that are out there. Sometimes we don't get to know people that are doing some of these kinds of things, and it's very important for our future in America
Absolutely.
to treat our children as the best we can.
Yes.
Do the best we can for
Yes.
them. All right. Well, thank you. And thank you for watching. Go out there and find some children and help them get involved.